Hello, welcome back to my channel. So we are continuing to read articles from the February 2021 edition of The Light, a truth paper, a free online paper, link to which is in the description. So today we are on, I think this is page 8 of the paper. Let's have a look. Oh, page 7 of the February 2021 edition paper. And this article is entitled "Governments Should Stop Being a Killing Joke," written by T.J. Tatz. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. Jaz Coleman, enigmatic frontman of iconic post-punk band Killing Joke, has long been a spokesman for the awake, before it ever became fashionable to seek truth over narrative. Formed in a house occupied by Tavistock Institute employees, indeed, one of these people gave the band its name, Killing Joke have always pushed back on the conventional conformist view of the world and sought to pull back the curtain and provide acerbic commentary on what they are up to. As an aside, a personal aside here, the Tavistock Institute is quite an interesting thing for listeners to research if you've never heard of it before. Okay, let's continue with the article. Dismissed in the past by the ignorant and the arrogant alike as being some kind of madman, Coleman has, nonetheless, continued his message of the dangers of the world we have created. His encyclopedic knowledge is astonishing to behold, and segues between topics are done without missing a beat, punctuated by one of the most intense laughs I have ever encountered. I opened by asking if he can shed any light on what the hell is going on, and his years of being a conspiracy theorist. He replied, "This term, conspiracy theory, an all-purpose metaphor for nullifying debate. Let's go back and have a look at the timeline of where we are today. The formation of the Council on Foreign Relations in 1921 by Edward Mandell House was the precursor of the League of Nations, which ultimately became the United Nations. There are strange bodies connected to these institutions, all of which play a huge role in shaping strategy for the future structure of the world. There are a number of documents that have been released or leaked that are examples of these groups' interference. The Global 2000 report, commissioned by and submitted to the Carter administration in 1980, was effectively a quantification of the population, and this came to the conclusion that 5 billion of us would have to go, followed by a deafening silence. This shows the mindset of an elite that refer to the populace as disposable humans. Hold on, let me scroll up. As disposable human material, or indeed useless eaters. Mass dehumanization is a major part of why we find ourselves where we are. Then, of course, we have Operation Lockstep from 2010. Another is the report from Iron Mountain on the possibility and the desirability of peace, which states that in order for the current banking system to continue, man should be in a perpetual state of challenge and war. This was, of course, dismissed as a hoax once leaked, but people can make up their own mind. Dennis Healy said, "World events do not occur by accident. They are made to happen, whether it is to do with national issues or commerce, and most of them are staged and managed by those who hold the purse strings." And he would know. He was a founding member of the Bilderberger Group. Kurt Lewin of the Frankfurt School, but later of the Tavistock Institute, theorized, amongst many other things, that a series of shocks would result in a blank slate, in which man reverts to a childlike state, which makes people malleable and easier to manipulate. Nobody's thoughts are their own today. The nanny state was a Tavistock term. Then there is the US Air Force document, Owning the Weather by 2025. The chemtrail program we see now that started in 1995 was a product of Bush Sr. Clinton even had to apologise for a minute fraction of the testing that was done on the public, without their knowledge or consent, in some way or another since the 1930s. Why, on Mount Shasta, is there such an abnormally high level of barium in the soil? People need to take samples of soil from their own gardens and have it tested at independent laboratories to make sure there is nothing sinister in there. Even during this current pandemic, the heaviest COVID casualties are where the geoengineering experiments are heaviest. The Solar Radiation Management Program, or Teller's Sunscreen, which is one of 16 concurrent programs, involves metallic substances being pumped into the upper atmosphere to ostensibly reflect poisonous UV rays back into space. If you put barium in the upper atmosphere and fluoride in the water, we have aluminium fluoride poisoning. The current chemtrail program is 25 years in and is inextricably linked to transhumanism and altering the human genome, without question. Our Earth is being terraformed with high-altitude ionospheric aerosol. As for space weather, that Obama warned us of as his parting shot, every 11 years there is a solar cycle that affects behaviour patterns of insects, animals and humans, and all become more aggressive. Imagine, though, there is a huge solar storm. The satellites go out, no GPS, and all the technology control from satellites on Earth fails, including anything in your body. GPS is set at magnetic north. If it used to move 2 centimeters per annum, it is now moving at 30 miles a year. People often speak of time seeming to go more quickly than in the past, and that is due to the continued electrification of the Earth. The conversation turned to the infrastructure needed to monitor and control. He said, "We are seeing forests of 5G towers replacing nature and creating a new digital flu. Forests are falling silent, created by these neo-Prometheans with no bees pollinating anything. But in the case of 5G, what goes up must come down, in my view. We have gone so far down the path of transhumanism, there is almost no going back. We may be the last of our species, of sapiens sapien. We are being replaced by Homo universalis, a fusion of man and machine, the splicing of human and insect genome via nanogram technologies. We have instances of Morgellons, with the fibrous material having numbers and symbols on the threads that are coming out of people's bodies. This means the technology is owned by somebody, which means you are owned by somebody. Of course, this infrastructure being implemented is needed to create a state of technological fascism, cultural enslavement by technotronic means. We are entering a world where non-conformists will be eliminated using technology as a weapon. Unless we act now to stop the encroachment of the technotronic system, which 5G epitomizes, that is our future. When cash is eventually eradicated, what do you think happens to the 12 million people that are homeless? They die, of course, because they have no means to buy food. And then there is, of course, the ultimate form of control, the control of the food supply. When so many are starving, why are there rules and regulations created by the EU for harmonised food standards across all member nations? The only reason to do this is to remove people's ability to provide their own food locally. Codex Alimentarius, a collection of standards, guidelines and codes of practice adopted by the Codex Alimentarius Commission, the CAC, which is the central part of the joint FAO/WHO Food Standards Programme, itself has roots in Nazi Germany via Fritz Termeer, board member of IG Farben Group, which included Bayer, who amongst other things manufactured Zyklon B, a cyanide-based pesticide created in the 1920s. Monsanto, in brackets Bayer, now dominate the market in terms of seeds and crops that are self-germinating rather than being pollinated by bees, but can only be used once, meaning that people must buy them again, year on year. It is no coincidence that Bayer was one of the unholy trinity that made up IG Farben, and now continues its legacy in GM foods, with nations being encouraged to partake in this new form of agriculture. Biotech companies are already deploying food safety officers to arrest those using heirloom seeds and claiming their patents have been stolen in order to position themselves as the sole source of the means by which food can be produced. Our food is irradiated, nutritionally reduced, mixed with toxic chemicals, and the result is a sick population and customers for Big Pharma. So is there any hope for the future? He replied, we have to redress the balance. We have to embrace more localised ecosystems and permaculture, which Bill Mollison, the Australian biologist, had great ideas on. We need mass transnationalisation, systematic disengagement with the top Fortune 1000 companies, a neo-Bolshevik solution to the central banking problem. We cannot live in a state of capitalism or constant war, because when we have a military-industrial complex that needs constant war in order to have perpetual growth, it is unsustainable. We need self-sufficiency, especially in food production, community instead of building high walls, the will to work. Everything will fragment and we will need each other to survive. All empires fail. We need the restructuring of religion to allow for a female deity through which we can facilitate our relationship with the earth and make us worthy custodians of the earth, not to rape and pillage it. Our community of earth colonies, rather than a fan club for Killing Joke, is one option for people wanting to live off the grid. Another is the possibility of earth ships. Ultimately, you must avoid high populous areas, the so-called smart cities, as they will be the kill zones. You don't have to live like termites in a mound. There is another way. We need a responsible philosophical elite with a moral compass able to make difficult discussions for the good of humanity. They do not exist in the upper echelons of corporations or amongst the richest in society. We have to completely transform our democratic system and have decision-making based on the Galton theory of the wisdom of crowds. While man is in this current state, he cannot be trusted. Government should be like jury service. Short period of work when you are out again. Then you are out again. So there are no vested interests or corruption. We must ensure we have a pluralist media with a wide range of views rather than the whole industry controlled by 6 people. We should increase education and the variety and quality of education. All they teach is exam result focused subjects and are all STEM or STEM based because they want future e-workers to enslave the human race. They don't want the arts or musicians or people being together, and that's why we have a war on the arts. I have made it my goal and felt it my duty this year to speak out as much as possible. People need to wake up to the encroaching enslavement. I have had 42 years of ridicule, and it's hard not to grin with satisfaction when all these things come to pass, but it's a hollow victory. I am the archetypal fool. I will talk about the things people don't want to talk about. I will continue to do so until they shut me up. When that is, couldn't give a fuck. It is the duty of all citizens to make note of those perpetrating crimes against humanity and hold them to account. The idea the richest people are the ones who are smartest and should make decisions for humanity is nonsense. Redemption comes from speaking out when you see evil. Those that don't speak out curse themselves. To those behind this plan for control, I am proud to say that I do not wear a mask and I am the enemy of you. I hate you for destroying the dreams, hopes and aspirations of all the beautiful people on earth. That's a big part of this pandemic operation. lowering expectations. Many of these rich and powerful people make the mistake that oblivion follows death. But unfortunately for them, that's not the case. Consciousness transcends death. They will answer for their crimes. They will get theirs. Okay, that's an interesting article, I thought. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. Please remember to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.